Hey guys, as we know, injuries are a part of the game. But when an injury takes your bet and your sportsbook leaves you hanging, that hurts. That's why our partners at Fanatic Sportsbook hit different. They've got fair play coverage for you. Fanatic Sportsbook protects all pro basketball player prop bets from first half injuries. This isn't just injury protection, it's real value for your plays. Fanatics is the home of fair play all season long. Your old sportsbook, well, they just won't do that. Time to switch. Download the Fanatic Sportsbook app today. Winning hits different here. Must be 21 or over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatic Sportsbook app. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook. We did it, Joe. We made it through another preseason. Another slate of fake basketball is done. Seems like the Knicks came out of it no worse for the wear, although there were obviously several key Knicks missing tonight. We'll talk about that in a second. But, every preseason, I think, kind of takes on a different feel. There was certainly a lot of curiosity and a lot of interest in this particular preseason. Because obviously new coach, new style of play. And yet by the end of these 5 games, I think I would sum up the feelings of Knicks Nation at this point of like, all right, let's get on with it. We know what the goals are this season. We know what's at stake. We know what is expected of this team. So could we just let the real games begin already? And begin they will. In just a few days, Wednesday, opening night, of course, against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But before that, the Knicks did need to take care of some business tonight against the Charlotte Hornets, which they did. They won, if that sort of thing matters to you, 113-108. So let's talk about what we saw tonight. And as we do that, let's try to put a little bit of a cap. We'll do a little bit of a summation on the preseason as a whole. But let's start with tonight, because I actually thought that there was some stuff to dig into tonight and a couple of juicy things. So we start obviously with who was out of this game. No Josh Hart, who ended the preseason playing all of 7 minutes of basketball. You heard Alan Hahn come on the Knicks Film School pod with me. When did that episode drop? Yesterday, I guess, or today. Talking about, and it's funny, I brought up the topic of Sixth Man of the Year and the first words out of his mouth to Jordan Clarkson, which I think that prediction, way it's looking right now, that may age well. But he talked about Josh and how with the health, between the finger and obviously this back thing, so look, opening night's still several days away. Josh is a gamer. I have a funny feeling Josh will not want to miss opening night, but you never know. We haven't seen him play in a game. So he was out. And then Karl-Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, they seem to be dealing with minor injuries. I don't think anybody's terribly concerned about either of them. And then Mitchell Robinson, in what is probably the most interesting injury or interesting holdout. I won't say injury because according to Mike Brown, it's not an injury. This is part of his management plan. What that management plan exactly is going to be moving forward, we'll see. But it seems like it's going to involve, not putting the pedal to the metal, at least not during the regular season. So the Knicks were without 4 of their top 6 players tonight. And I think with that news, uttered earlier today by Brown, there was a lot of curiosity as to who he would go with. And I remember thinking, all right, well, maybe he'll try to keep the bench as is and just put a bunch of third stringers or lesser players or whatever in the starting lineup. And he kind of did that in starting Trey Jemison III and Mohamed Diawara, who are 2 players on 2-way spots that certainly don't expect to be a part of the next rotation. But he also started Jordan Clarkson as opposed to, say, Landry Shamet, which I thought was interesting in the sense that, well, I guess from 2 perspectives. From the perspective of Clarkson, I would assume that Mike Brown wanted to get a little bit of a longer look at Jordan Clarkson playing with Jalen Brunson. And what might that portend for the team moving forward, as far as who is his first guy off the bench, or who is the bench player that maybe is going to play the most minutes, or at the very least the most minutes with Jalen Brunson. So I thought, okay, interesting. And then Landry Shamet ended up getting time with the bench, and we'll talk about his game because he had, the competition for the last roster spot pretty much locked up at this point, but we'll get into that again in a little bit. So, how did they look? How did they play? I thought the Knicks looked really good tonight. On offense in particular, yeah, they were a little sloppy, but I think you saw a team that was giving it something resembling a regular season level of seriousness and intensity on the offensive end. I think I've gone back and forth this preseason thinking whether the offense is ahead of the defense or the defense is ahead of the offense. I think tonight, pretty clear to say the offense was ahead of the defense. But you know what? That could change in a hurry. But as far as specifics of tonight, I don't know how you start anywhere other than with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, who we have really not seen a ton of in this preseason. And when we've seen him, it's been like little spurts of like Jalen Brunson as we are used to seeing. Well, tonight you got the full Jalen Brunson. And my goodness, it never gets old watching this guy play basketball and knowing that he is wearing the uniform of the team that you root for and not some other team. It's just a delight. It was a delight 3 years ago when he came here. It was a delight 2 years ago when the team became a contender. It was a delight last year when the team damn near made the finals. And it was a delight tonight in a game that didn't mean anything at all and came against a team that's probably not going to be very good, but it didn't matter. Watching Jalen Brunson go out there and be Jalen Brunson and just look like Jalen Brunson, act like Jalen Brunson, it's just the absolute best. Finished tonight with 31 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds, like a typical Jalen Brunson stat line. There was one number. I mean, shot. I think maybe he was tiring towards the end because he started out shooting it really well. He was 5 of 11 in the first quarter, and he was 7 of 15 at half. I had 20 points. Ended up 12 of 25. Missed a couple late that he usually makes, but he's working his way into regular season form. He'll be there by next week, I trust. The most interesting number for Jalen Brunson, by far, to me, is the number of threes. 12 3-pointers attempted for Jalen Brunson, made 5 of them. That's signed for 5 for 12 most nights. I mean, it's not great, but it's fine. It's the 5 I don't really care about as much as the 12. He put up 12 3-pointers in 33 minutes, including 8 threes in the first quarter. So I should have looked this up ahead of time. I didn't. I'm going to guess that Jalen Brunson attempted at least 12 threes in a game once last season, maybe twice. Let's see how close I could get. He did it once last season. It was in an overtime, the overtime loss to Boston, and he played 38 and a half minutes in that game. And the season before that, 23-24 season, I'm going to guess there was in one other game, maybe the Phoenix game, that he put up 12 threes 4 times the previous season. So the fact that, and one of those was an overtime game. So the fact that he put up 12 threes tonight, I don't think that was an accident. Nor do I think it was an accident that the Knicks as a team, they ended up only how far we've come, only attempting 48 3-pointers. The Knicks were 11 for 30 from 3 at the half, and then they started taking a little bit fewer threes as the game went on. But at halftime of this game, they were on pace for 60 3-point field goal attempts. Look, preseason across the NBA is filled with a lot of talk from every team about a lot of the same things. I don't know of a team in the NBA that doesn't talk about wanting to put up more threes because it's the age we live in. It feels like the Knicks are backing up their talk with how they are firing away. I mean, I noted at halftime, 7 of the 10 players that saw the court put up multiple threes. The only ones that didn't were the 2 centers that played, Jemison and Huckporty, who don't shoot threes. And then Tyler Kolek only put up 1 3, but he only played for 6 minutes. So this team is going to shoot. They're going to shoot it a lot. They probably won't shoot it as high a percentage as last year, but that's fine. From 3, because they were actually a very good 3-point percentage team last year. They just didn't put up nearly enough shots. They're going to put up enough threes this year. What are they going to be in terms of 3-point frequency league wide? Top 10 would be great. Top half of the league is a must. I'd like to see top 10 though, and early indications are we might get there. So that's great. As far as other regulars who played tonight, I actually like the look of Jordan Clarkson and Jalen Brunson playing together. I think I'm very curious what those 2 guys do together on the floor this year, because Jordan Clarkson, look, we've already talked a lot about Jordan Clarkson in the preseason, leaves some things to be desired, in some ways. If he is not even the most talented shot maker in your backcourt, which he's not obviously going to be when he's on the floor with Jalen Brunson, and he can benefit from Jalen Brunson's gravity and mere presence. I mean, when's the last time Jordan Clarkson has played with a offensive player the likes of, like, similar to Jalen Brunson? I mean, he was with Donovan Mitchell in Utah for a while. That's really it. It's been a hot minute. So I thought it was interesting again that Brown played those 2 together. I thought Mikal Bridges looked very good. Didn't make a ton of threes tonight. Attempted 8. Again, you love to see the attempts from Mikal Bridges. 7 of 16 overall, which means he was 5 of 8 from 2. I thought Mikal looked good. Like, all 3 of those guys I thought looked good. And then off the bench, in terms of, again, guys that we expect to be part of the regular rotation, Deuce McBride making some really nice plays. He had a fantastic anticipation steal in the first half, and then arguably the play of the game, another steal by Deuce that ended in a Mikal Bridges dunk in the second half. So really nice game from Deuce. Ariel Huckporty, some nice moments, some maybe not nice moments. Here's one thing I did note with interest tonight watching. We did not get 1 minute, not one single solitary second of Gershon Yabusele. Gershon. Did I say Huckporty? I meant Gershon Yabusele. Gershon Yabusele, I'm talking about now. Gershon Yabusele at the 5. Gershon Yabusele played exclusively at the 4 tonight after what was not a great defensive performance from him or from the team when he was playing center against the Washington Wizards earlier this week. So, I think the fact that Brown tonight could have either started Yabo with the 5, he could have played Yabo with the 5 off the bench, he could have started Huck, he didn't do that. Which, again, I think tells you a lot about how he is going to want to play this year. Yeah, Cat's going to play the 5 some, but I would not expect any super small lineups. I would, again, be frankly surprised if we saw much of Yabusele at the 5, if anything. So, yeah, that's him. And now we can get into some of the guys who are maybe not going to be part of the regular rotation, but I thought had notable moments anyway. So where should we start here? I want to start with Trey Jemison III. Trey Jemison III is a guy, this is his 5th team in, I think, 2 years. I'm fairly certain he's been in the league for 2 years as his 5th team. Guy, he was a plus 20. He was tied for team lead with Deuce in 26 minutes. I get he hasn't caught on yet. He's not an NBA rotation player. I understand that. I think that's a guy that the Knicks are going to like having on their team, in their organization. They have him locked up on a 2-way. That's great. And I was thinking to myself as I was kind of processing the roster and how they were going to play this year, earlier in the week, if Mitch goes down, if this is how Brown wants to play, with either Cat at the 5 or like a traditional rim protector at the 5, are they a little light, in the 5? And I wonder with Huckporty, who we're going to get to in a second, and then Jamison, who would essentially be their fourth center, right? Behind Mitch, Cat, and Huckporty. Like, I wonder if they're comfortable with him as their fourth center. That's just something, again, as I've watched him over the preseason and just am continually impressed by him. Just something to think about. A really nice game tonight. Not to be outdone, Mohamed Diawara getting the surprise start of all surprise starts. Super young player, super raw player, but had a couple of nice moments. So that was great to see from Diawara as well. And then off the bench, I mentioned Huckporty before. Again, Huckporty, nice game. Didn't do a whole lot, but you heard Monica McNutt tout Huckporty on NBA Takedown earlier this week. And I think you saw why. I would expect to see a lot of Huck this year. I wrote in the Knicks Film School newsletter this morning. One of my predictions is that Huckporty is going to play at least the 10th most minutes on the team. I don't even think that's a hot take. And I think he looks ready for it. He looks ready to be, I don't know if he's going to be the 10th man. I think the next guy we're going to talk about probably gets that designation, but still, I thought Ariel Huckporty looked good. And then last two guys, Shamet, again, solidified. He's going to make the team. 3 of 5 from deep in this one. He played 20 minutes, which is 20 minutes more than Garrison Matthews played. So if there was any doubt, it seems like, as to whether it was going to be, I'm sorry, I got distracted for a second because I'm pretty sure this is David Fizdale on my, is this David Fizdale on my television? No, that's not David Fizdale. Guy looks very similar to David Fizdale. And I read recently that David Fizdale is going to be on some kind of a show that they're doing for basketball this year. Thought that was him. Anyway, yeah, Matthews didn't play. So it seems like Shamet's going to get the spot. Now, could they still make a Dadier trade just to get Shamet and Matthews on the roster? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. And then Kolek. Some nice minutes. I thought he followed up his Washington effort well. I thought he had a couple of really nice passes like he always does. I thought he did have a really nice steal in the open court to give his team another chance at a shot. Unfortunately, Clarkson missed 3. Again, I'm like this notion that the quote unquote backup point guard, meaning not Deuce, not Clarkson, the notion that player is going to play any minutes if everybody's healthy, or even any minutes if like all of the non-centers are healthy. So basically, if Mitch is out, well, I don't think that impacts anything, because then just Huckporty's going to step up and you'll still play Cat at the backup 5. So again, we are talking here essentially about the 11th man, unless you think Shamet is the 11th man, or, Huck's the 11th man, Shamet's the 10th man. My point is that I can't get worked up over the Brogdon retirement, and now Kolek's going to have to step up and potentially play. Yeah, if Brunson's hurt, or maybe if another guard is hurt, Kolek's going to have to step up and play minutes. I don't know. I think the kid deserves a shot. And from what we've seen from him the last couple games, I think it's been fine. And then look, if you need to address the situation later in the year, you can. The only reason why it would be a significant issue is if Brunson went down for an extended period of time. And guess what? If Brunson goes down for an extended period of time, then you got a lot bigger issues on your hand than Tyler Kolek. So that's pretty much everybody that played tonight. I thought, again, offensively, they looked good. I thought they moved the ball around well. I thought the pace was really good. It felt, watching it, like we were watching a better version of offense than we were accustomed to watching last year. As far as Brunson in particular, it did not feel like he was working as hard to get his shots as we were accustomed to seeing last year. That is David Fizdale. This man grew a beard. There's a lot of gray in his beard. Man, he's aged. Okay. Sorry, I'm just very distracted. What is this program? He's talking to this person. Okay, I have to just probably turn off my TV. So yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, Brunson, easier shots, didn't have to work as hard, so that's good. And like in general, it didn't seem like anybody was working terribly hard for their shots. So that's all good news. Defensively, saw some confusion, but you also saw some switching, which I thought was nice. It seems like they are, you know what it feels like? There's definitely, don't get me wrong, there were some mistakes. There were a lot of mistakes at times, but it doesn't seem like they're running around with like chickens with their heads cut off as much as maybe it felt like we were accustomed to seeing at times last year. I don't know if that's just my perception. I'd love to go back and rewatch it, but that's, to me, seeing them maybe switch a little bit more liberally. I think that can only be a good thing, especially if you work on it throughout the entirety of the season. And I liked that they were getting pretty aggressive in passing lanes. Like the Knicks had 11 steals tonight. Shout out to Ben Kim Gervey. He's always looking at the steal numbers, because when they steal a lot of passes, it usually results in wins. And tonight, again, 11 steals for the Knicks. The Charlotte Hornets committed 21 total turnovers. The Knicks scored 26 points off of those 21 turnovers. The Hornets scored a ton of points off of 31 points off of 16 Knicks turnovers. So again, offense, work in progress. Some of the passes that the Knicks threw that turned into turnovers for the Hornets were, but you're going to get that. You're going to get that in a new offense. You're going to get that in an offense that's really trying to push the pace. I like it, though. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor. And again, you have the next 82 games, not to say that the regular season doesn't count, because it does. But you have the next 82 games to really figure this stuff out and try to fine tune this thing and get it to the point where, it becomes second nature. So that's that. Trying to see if there's anything else that I wanted to note. Again, the passing in the first half, there were 8 players with at least 1 assist. I like that. Yeah, that's really, the minutes. You want to talk about the minutes a little bit? It felt like Tibbs was coaching this game for a little bit, keeping Brunson in late in the fourth quarter and putting him back in, obviously a preseason game. But you look at the minute totals, 33 minutes for Bridges, 34 minutes for Brunson. Like those numbers, that it seems like that's what they might be over the course of the season. Which is, again, not trying to, throw any shade anywhere, but like anybody out there predicting a 10-man rotation, I'm sorry. Where are the minutes coming from? Because if you think, your Jalen Brunsons and Karl-Anthony Townses and Mikal Bridges and OG Anunobys of the world are going to be sitting here playing 28 to 30 minutes or 31 minutes or something, or even like 32 minutes, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. These guys are going to play. They're not going to play as much as they did under Tibbs, but they're going to play. So, and the bench guys like Clarkson, Yabusele, they brought these guys in for a reason. They're going to play minutes. I think it's going to be a 9-man rotation when everybody's healthy. And then if someone's not healthy, then maybe we mix it up from there.